Hi, I'm Dr. Frank A. Thomas with another video presentation of African American preaching. Last video, we talked about folk preaching. Remember, the two strands in African American preaching are folk preaching and in what some call intellectual preaching. So this time I want to talk about intellectual preaching. Intellectual preaching is an academic approach practiced primarily by preachers attending college and seminary, hence intellectual or educated preaching. The educated preaching tradition has left more written materials, while the folk tradition is primarily lodged in oral tradition. Intellectual preaching came mostly from the North, done by blacks that were either born free or purchased their freedom, or had gained access to education such as Lemuel Hayes, John Chavis, Absalom Jones, and Hosea Easton. In the 19th century, as already mentioned, Richard Allen in 1816, the father of the first independent African American denomination in the United States, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, and Reverend Andrew Marshall, pastor of the First African Baptist Church in Savannah, Georgia, preached to large numbers of blacks and whites. Many of these preachers followed the form and structure of the Euro-American preaching tradition, with the propositional nature of deductive reasoning as the argumentation structure of the sermon, and classical rhetorical tenets, modes, and methods of persuasion as the basis of homiletical preparation and delivery. Preaching in this educated strand was didactic and centered in formal language, usually addressing erudite theological issues. O.C. Edwards, in a book entitled A History of Preaching, explains that one of the critical goals of educated preachers was to show, this is important, that members of their race were as intellectually capable as whites, and they could produce sermons that were as eloquent and as closely argued as the best white preaching of the time. As a result, educated preaching sought to distinguish itself from folk preaching, and often regarded folk preaching as undignified, emotional, illiterate, buffoonery, and embarrassing. This is our history as African American preachers. We celebrate it. We're proud of it. And I thank you for listening. See you next week. And please don't forget that each and every Monday we do a Periscope live broadcast, 8 a.m. Eastern Time. Twice a week, we release videos in this series on African American preaching. And finally, each and every week, we upload spiritual vitamins to SoundCloud. We want to make sure that you will subscribe to each of these platforms. And I know you want to get as fast as you can this powerful information that's coming forth. So sign up. God bless you. And thank you so much for watching.